Hello everybody, Water here. Welcome to the second episode of my second Let's Play series, Foxes Not Included. Now in the last episode we started a new game on a Frosty Planet, and while we already have at least the basic infrastructure somewhat in place, there is still a lot of work to do until we reach a sustainable colony. So with that in mind, let's jump back into the game and have a quick look. And here we are. So as I can see, we already have the beginnings of our great hall, huge kitchen, a bathroom, some ranches, and some barracks and bedrooms at the top there. But there is, as I said, still a decent chunk to work on. All of which will, for the most part, require me to actually get out of this snow and ice biome here, which usually would take a little bit longer, since I would have to get some tubes that can actually dig through the abyssite layer. But on this map here, we seem to be somewhat lucky with this structure here having formed right in the middle of the abyssite layer. So we should be able to actually get out of our center biomes a bit faster. So with that in mind, let's get this all dug out, and yeah, I won't dig that out. I still need the packable bush for later. And this gap is even bigger than I imagined it would be, which is appreciated, I guess. You know what? I might as well make my way up there. So let's see. If I dig that out, then I will be able to reach the top there. Yep, looks good. Then I can dig up here and then here. Get rid of all of that. Even this part here, I might as well also aim a little bit more for the granite. Where is this part too? And also this part there. I'm going to need as much granite as I can for my future projects. Okay, that is looking good. Now in the meantime, we finished with a little bit of research, which is the rock crusher and the kiln. And the former will also need power. And then a proper floor. Then I can start digging out in this whole area here, and might as well aim for those buried objects. They might contain some more food. Yeah, that should work. Anything else I can aim for? This one there. And this one here will have to remain, since I don't want to lose the packable bush up there. Okay, that is looking good. We also seem to be close to getting another tube. Yep, but first, Stinky, our rancher, has another skill point and is now an actual rancher. So, with that in mind, I need to collect all of my Floxes. I actually need to be able to reach that one. So, that should be 5 Floxes. Yep, let's increase the priority. Then let's make the settings here. So we have like apple, not squares, like apples. For the Floxes here, 10 kilograms in total. Then I do need some grooming, but only at the top station for the moment. Then we have our shearing station. And then we have our critter drop off for 5 Floxes in total. The bottom one I'm not going to activate for the moment. This will be just a place where I put manually the X for now. The top one will be the active one. So, now, let's have a look. I'm not going to grab any more dupes for quite a while, but some coal is always appreciated. Not entirely necessary, but it is definitely appreciated. Okay, that is all of the work over here. And once I have the Floxes in there, my rancher here will also start to shear them for their antlers, which are actually made of wood. And yeah, that is where I'm going to get the wood for my water production and also my ladders. At least the ladder I can soon replace with granites, but first I need to get this whole thing here dug out. And this here seems to be melting, so I might want to actually put in a snow tile in there. You know what? Let's just speed this up until we have access to this security door here. hopefully someone will come by soon. There's party. Because this will give us an achievement. Yep, just as I suspected. Outdoor renovations. Construct a building outside the initial starting biome. And here we are currently waiting for Nisbeth. Oh, come on. So, there we go. That should be the second achievement for today. Goes of Gravitas, recover a database entry by inspecting facility ruins. Or in other words, opening one of those doors here. So, then inspect and rummage, this will give us some more food. And we have another vacillator. Okay, that explains the big gap over there. That will be quite useful. Now, anyway, our target for the moment is getting access to all of those seedweed in here for food production. So I think I'm just going to put a ladder somewhere here in the center and then just branch out towards all of those seedweeds here. And hopefully that should be enough food for the next couple dozen cycles. And almost 4 cycles later, we are pretty much done with the digging over here. So you can see quite a decent number of sleetweed. We also found a few more interesting biomes. So a biome with the beetles over here. Then we have some bomber trees over there. And here we have even a behemoth and some ethanol lakes. So that will all be rather useful. But for now, a lot more has changed. For one, we are waiting on printing something. Oh, some more food. That is definitely appreciated since we are rather low at the moment. Although that hopefully should rectify itself once I start making some frost buns. Or as many as I can actually. So, we also finished with quite a bit of research. So, let's actually do this over here. So, a bit further down, I now have the electrolyzer. I also have from ventilation all the way to the insulated tiles, and over here the atmosensor. And at the top I am currently working my way towards the smart battery, and once I have that and then finally the conductifier, I have everything I need for my electrolyzer setup. So quite a decent chunk of materials and various buildings are now available to us. That is definitely nice to see. So let's just clean that all up. And now we also have quite a few dupes that are waiting for their skill points. So our Nisbeth here is going to get improved carry number 2. And I want to continue. So then our researcher can now do field research. And our diggers now can start to dig through super hard materials like abyssalite, which means we can make our way over there, since this is the closest to the spot where I want to build my Hydra, where I can find things like igneous rock and iron ore. So with that in mind, if I dig down there, I'm going to lose this part up there, although I'm going to lose at least this pineapple bush. I think I'm just going to dig down like that. Then priority 6 for all of this. Then, and this is a little trick I found recently, you can greatly speed up the building of the ladders by going down like that. So, now if I keep that, then I can make my way up into this top layer here and get all of those juicy materials. There, yep, that is definitely going to be my next main target here. I also need to get started on making some iron, but that can wait a little bit until I have some iron ore down here that is a little bit closer than grabbing it from all the way up there. What do we else have? Some seeds, some slime, although that is already sublimating. which is not too much of an issue since at those temperatures here you can see there's no slime lung left over. Okay. So for now, let's concentrate on getting access to the part down here and the last few bits of missing research. And here we go. So now that we have access to this biome, we can do a little bit more digging. And primarily I'm interested in getting my hands on the iron ore and the igneous rock down here for my next few builds. So let's just dig down here. And let's dig down one layer further, and that should hopefully be enough. So let's decrease the priority again. Dig out that, then I'm going to dig down here, dig that out, and dig that out. Okay, research is also pretty much done. We are just waiting on the conductive wire now. But that is nice. And yeah, we also have a skill point for our cook. Now I could go for grilling too, which would unlock the next achievement, but I think it's at the moment more important to get more carrying capacity into my colony. So let's grab that. I should also prioritize the building of the rock crusher here, and once that is in place, I can then manually move a good chunk of the iron ore here onto this ledge, or otherwise my tubes would just run back and forth for 100 kilogram packages of iron ore, and that is just a waste of time. And for the current project, I think we are going to need about 2.5 tons of iron, so that makes 50 production orders, and I'm just going to increase the priority a little bit. Okay, 2 tons of iron ore are already here, so that is almost half of what we need. Nice. And I think we're just about to finish with the last missing research for the Hydra. So next up on the research agenda, I think, is the incubator. Let's go for that. And while we're here, let's also set up our resources. So fertilizer was the last thing we printed out. Not really a lucky draw there, but why not? So leave it for food. And then we have sand for our water sieves. Then the cinnabar ore and the iron ore. Wood, very important. Granite and igneous rock. And then also some oxalite. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so next up on the agenda is preparing the space for the Hydra. And okay, this goes all the way to the top. So this will be in this spot here and just up to this layer here then. Have to keep that in place. I can dig out all of that. I can also dig out all of that. This one there. I will need a couple tiles though to still reach the internals there. This will have to remain, but I can dig out at least that part. And this part. Okay, and as I said, for now, the goal is to dig out this whole space here, so I have a clean slate to start working on. Just like this here. Now, in the meantime, I've noticed that we are running rather low on oxygen, especially here in the lower parts of the base, which is a bit of an issue. So we need to start digging for some oxalite, which we have a decent chunk here. So let's see. First, I would like to build a ladder here, then a couple tiles. And with that, I should be able to dig through here. Yeah. And then here I just need to go 3 high, and that should be all I can grab there. And we still have some more over here. So let's see if I were to dig through like that, and then down here. Then down there, and down there. That should be all I need for the moment, at least down here. We still have a little bit more up there, so let's grab that as well. And we also have some more over here, which we might as well work on. There's some more over there. Let's see, anything else on the left side? Yeah, we have some more over here. So let's grab that, and then over here, let's grab that as well. And oh, there's some more over here. And somewhere over there. So that hopefully should keep us breathing for a few more cycles. And we have a skill point for our researcher. yeah, applied sciences research, which actually gave us an achievement I usually get with my cooks. And that is to pay the bills. Use the duplicant skill points to buy out an entire branch of the skill tree. Very nice. Okay. Research is also advancing. But for now, we should concentrate on getting the oxygen situation handled. And that's looking a whole lot better already. So that should keep us running until we have a proper electrolyzer set up. Okay. In the meantime, we finish with the research as well. So next up on the agenda is, I think, the metal refinery, even if I'm not going to build it today. Good. Now, last preparation before we actually get started is over here. We have ethanol, thanks to the spigot seal. And we also have, should have at least some nectar inside of those bomber trees here. We're going to need both for our electrolyzer. So I'm just going to dig that part out. Add a pneumatic door here so the critters remain in place. And yeah, once we have access to those two liquids here, we can start on our oxygen generation. But first, let's set up the overview here. So now that we have it available, I would like to know how much nectar and ethanol I have, and also how much iron I have. That is somewhat important. And now, first things first, we are going to need a proper floor out of insulated tiles right here. Then 2 walls out of airflow tiles. This is where I'm going to place my electrolyzer. That will be submerged, so I need the bottle emptier. I will then need a ceiling on top. We'll close this once the bottle emptier is gone. Then that is where I'm going to need a gas pump. That will be connected to an atmos sensor. I will also control the electrolyzer with a normal signal switch. Then I need water. And the water will come from over here. This one over, then there, then up. And then through the floor. And I should actually make that out of the proper material. And then into the electrolyzer. Okay, now down here I will have a bottle drainer. And that is where most of the water comes from. The rest is just overflow from a future bathroom. Okay, that's looking pretty good already. Now, let's just check how much space do we have. Okay. 8. That means I can just put in 2 hydrogen generators. And then I think I need to go a bit higher with that. A floor on top. And that is where I can, for one, put a hamster wheel to prime everything. Then a smart battery. And then 2 power transformers. The smart battery will control the flow of my 2 hydrogen generators. And I will still need the gas pipes. So for that I'm going with a temporary gas filter here. So up there. Then the hydrogen down and then there. And the overflow goes into a gas vent right there. Okay, that's looking good. Anything else I need besides power? Doesn't look like it. So next is the conductive wire and below. I don't think I can actually build this entirely. But the idea is pretty simple. We go straight up and over there for the moment. I will also need to connect this one here and these 2 here, but that I will have to do once I actually have the materials. And for now, I'm just going to use the one here, at least in the future, to power my main base. And we have some iron again, so I can finish with planning out this part here. So all that's left is making a bit more, and then we can get finished on this one. We also have some skill points to distribute, so I'm thinking of giving my 2 diggers now increased carrying capacity, because it's painful watching them just carrying around half a tile worth of material and then just going back and forth. Really, really painful. Same for my rancher though. Okay, that's looking good. Now a quick look over here. Still have some omelette from the last printing. I got somewhat lucky with the draw there. And we have at least 1 Flox egg down here. Oh, give me 2. And one of my Floxes just died due to old age, I suspect. Okay, let's get that up here. And I don't want my dupes to eat raw meat, so I will have to disallow that for a moment. I will also have to get my hands on some tallow. So let's see. This one here has already laid its egg, so I can attack that one. And once it has died, I can move the tallow over to my kitchen. Oh, and we have another skill point. And that means Nisbeth is now going into tinkering and then electrical engineering and then later on mechatronic engineering. So we are getting close to being able to automate all of our stuff. But first, we are going to need that tallow. And now with both meat and tallow available, we can actually turn that into pemmican. And I'm going to do this ad infinitum, so as much as I can, because I can see this adds almost a whole 50% to the, or even more than 50% to the amount of calories here. So very, very efficient. We also finished with the research, so now we have the metal tile and the metal refinery. I'm going to worry about that at a later point though. And yeah, why not? Let's start researching into the automation game. Okay. And yeah, now focus back to the main part, which is oxygen and power production. And we're just about ready to fire this up. So first things first, we're going to need water. High priority, enable auto bottle. We're also going to need power, so I might want to give this a little bit of a high priority. So this is turned on, this is turned off, this is set to hydrogen. And now I just need to wait until the water flows. In the meantime, we got an achievement for automating the electrolyzer. So that is the red light, green light, automated building using sensors or switches from the automation tab in the build menu. Nice. We are also advancing in the research, that is good. And last check. Okay, we have some polluted oxygen in there. That is kind of annoying and will have to be dealt with. That means the next research, once we're done with that, is going to be a bit further down, the deodorizer. And that will have to go somewhere in here. So, which tile? From there. Deodorizer will need power. And I will need to get up there. So, and one more. Yeah, that should be all I need. And for now, the main goal is to get a single layer of hydrogen at the top there. And just oxygen on the side. If we're lucky, the polluted oxygen will end up on this side here and not over there, where it would cause some issues. We'll have to see how that turns out. And of course, I decided to go to the left, which meant I had to wait until I got the deodorizer unlocked and put in place and properly fed. But now, with only oxygen on one side, I can actually turn this mini Hydra here on. And if you go in the F1 overlay, you can see this is starting to look much better than before. And with this never overpressurizing, we should very soon start to see the entire base here properly pressurized again. Now, it could in theory overpressurize my base, but with further expansion and more dupes in the future, this is not going to be an issue. Now, let's check the rest of the settings. So this is set for over 2 kilograms. That is good. This here needs to be set from 90 to 50%. So it's never going completely empty. I still will have to wait until this here actually turns on before I connect that. Research is currently advancing. I'm going for the moment for distillation and then emulsification. We also have, I think, a skill point for our cook. Yeah, let's go for grilling 2 this time. And we also got lucky with our last printing pot draw. We actually got a pipsqueak, which is going to be useful for some of our future projects. And now that I'm looking at it, I apparently forgot to set up my great hall. That is kind of annoying. So we need a water cooler and a flower pot. And that should give our dupes a nice moral bonus of +6. Or at least it should. Let's see. Pressure. It's the carbon dioxide, but it's also the fluid oxygen that is playing havoc. Okay, new plan. We're first going to deal with this little issue here. Okay. And yeah, that out too. And once that is handled, we are going to deal with the polluted oxygen. For that, I will need, and I'm going to increase the priority, mesh tiles. And then deodorizers. One for each layer. And I might as well go all the way to the top there. Then I will need power. For all of them. And once those are in place, I should no longer have an issue with polluted oxygen, at least on this side. But we also have the other one, so I'm going to do the same very briefly here. There's a backup option. Okay. So let's add these. And then some power. And let's see. Okay, we have enough pressure, so I can actually connect this to the power grid, which it actually is already, which means we also don't need this anymore and this anymore. That's good. While I'm working on it, I might as well add the fire poles, at least in the area we are currently making use of. So my dupes are going along a bit faster since, well, they are currently already spending more than 40% of their time just running around, and that is a bit of an issue. Yeah, let's get all of this here in place. And here we go. We no longer have masses of polluted oxygen inside of the base. There's still a little bit on the outer borders, but that is not going to cause any issues there. Good. Now, oxygen, as you can see, is starting to be provided to the base, even with very high pressure in this area, obviously. But yeah, that is starting to look much better. We are already getting a little bit of clay, yeah, from primarily this one here, which is getting it from the polluted water here. So, anyway, we are still running into occasional issues with our food supply. As you can see, I made some more packable skewers, which means we don't have enough sleetweed yet. Fortunately enough, there's a lot down here and also over here. So for now, let's do some targeted digging in this area. Now, in case you're curious, this here is actually a natural gas geyser, so I'm definitely going to make use of that at some point in the future, but not right now. Okay, now this here should be hopefully enough food for our base, so I can start concentrating a bit more on my central colony here. First, let's actually have a look at the dupes, because they have some skill points. Now, I'm going to give my researcher more carry. And my rancher is going to branch off into farming, because I also need to handle the bonbon trees properly later on. Okay. Research is also advancing quite nicely with advanced automation currently. And yeah, next up on the agenda is a big expansion for my ranching setup. But that is definitely too much for this episode here. So I'm going to put a pin in this episode here and continue with all of this here in the next one. And with that, all that's left for me to say is that I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, share, and comment if you did so. It really helps with the algorithm. Independent of that, I wish you a nice day, and well, see you